Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a really core concept in psychology, Carl Jung's theory of individuation.
That process of becoming your own distinct self, right?
Exactly. But we're looking at it through a specific lens today, based on the source material you shared.
It's a kind of psychohistorical view, connecting the theory, especially that separation from the mother idea, directly back to Jung's own childhood.
Right, his relationship with his mother, Emily. The source actually calls this a valuable lens.
They're understanding maybe where the theory originated.
Yeah. And it mentions Jung describing his mother as strange.
Strange, and in two parts, which, the source suggests could point towards depression or perhaps dissociation she might have experienced.
Okay, so the big question the source raises is, well, could Jung's whole push for psychological separation be less about a universal human need?
And more about his own personal need. Like maybe trying to get away from a difficult, maybe chaotic emotional environment at home.
That's a really interesting framing. So the idea is his theory about separating from the mother wasn't just abstract.
But potentially a personal defense mechanism, something he needed to do himself, and then perhaps built into a broader framework.
Exactly. And the source seems quite concerned about that possibility.
Well, yeah. The source suggests that when personal issues, especially unresolved ones, get turned into, academic theories.
They can end up distorting things,
Yeah.
like our understanding of basic human connections.
Precisely. And it doesn't just stop there. With the origins, the source connects it forward.
The legacy, right.
Yeah.
How does it see this playing out now, in the West particularly?
It argues we might be seeing the results in things like more emotional isolation, fragmented families.
And it uses that phrase, a culture of cutoff.
Yeah, a culture of cutoff. It elaborates on that.
How so?
It suggests this cutoff sometimes gets framed as just setting healthy boundaries. But the source argues that maybe Jung's model, even with all its insights, kind of unintentionally fed into this cultural pattern.
A pattern of separation that might be contributing to, well, alienation.
That's the implication. Which leads to a pretty serious ethical point the source raises.
Is that independence? Is it worth it if the cost is emotional distance, estrangement?
Right. If individuation is pushed without real relational maturity, does it lead to freedom or more like, well, the source calls it defensive autonomy.
Defensive autonomy. So looking strong on the outside, but maybe disconnected inside.
Externally independent perhaps, but internally cut off. It really makes you question what true psychological freedom looks like.
So wrapping up, the source offers a final thought on the theory's impact. It's sort of a mixed bag.
Very much so. It acknowledges the brilliance in Jung's work, obviously, but also sees a potential burden.
A path to self-reliance, yes, but also a risk.
A risk of it being used, maybe unconsciously, to justify emotional cutting off, especially in cultures that already value individualism so highly.
So the source is calling for a more balanced view.
Yes, essentially, a perspective that holds both things. The need for our own psychological space, our independence.
But also that fundamental human need for connection. Real connection, especially within families.
Exactly. Balancing autonomy with belonging.
Okay, so we've journeyed through this source's perspective, linking Jung's personal life to his theory and its potential ripples. It leaves us with a final thought, really, for you listening.
Considering this lens, how do you navigate that tricky balance between your own journey towards independence and that deep human pull towards connection?